Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Soyez les bienvenus.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our panel session.
La confiance des populations au SPE.
The subject is the Public Employment Services Reputation, Visibility and Trust in Society. There are not many of us here, and I am sure that we will have an extremely useful discussion.
Les enjeux de réputation sont très importants pour le travail que nous faisons.
The challenges in our reputation are very important. They are related to how our PESs work, the communication. We must try to move towards the direction where we solve the issues, to resolve the gaps in our reputation and try to think how we could gain a better reputation in the eyes of the public. We will exchange experiences here between 4 different representatives from Japan, Estonia, Senegal, and Belgium. I hope that we won't be let down by technology. We will start with the presentation of Japan. I hope our Japanese friends have arrived. I will give the floor to our Japanese representative, Mrs. Anzu Shiraishi. After the presentation, you will have the chance to ask questions. To start, let me introduce you the representatives here today. The Japanese representative. I will introduce her right away. Mrs. Anzu Shiraishi. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. She has graduated from a graduate school last spring and has a Master of Social Science degree. Since March 2021, she has been working for the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. She's now engaged in career guidance measures to support job seekers and employers. Welcome, Mrs. Anzu Shiraishi.
Le deuxième présentateur est Monsieur Gana Cisse. Il nous vient du Sénégal.
The next representative will be Mr. Gana Cisse. He is from Senegal and he has approximately 15 years of experience in this area. He used to be the inspector for work and social protection. He has a degree from the business administration school in Senegal. He has several practical experiences. He has international experience in NGOs, in international NGOs, including Para Group. He has been a manager in foreign countries, and he has accumulated a lot of experience, which has enabled him to become a very multicultural, multi-sites in the multicultural and multi-sites context. Mr. Cisse works for the National Agency for the Promotion of Youth Employment in Senegal. So welcome, Mr. Gana Cisse. The next, Mrs. Kerstin Holland. She is part of the organizational committee here. She has an MA degree in public administration and social policies at the University of Tartu. She has been working with labor market topics since 2005 first at the Ministry of Social Affairs and during the last 10 years at the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund, which is PES in Estonia. At the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund, she has worked at different positions where her main fields of responsibilities have been related to career services and labor market training. She was one of the leaders to conduct the career services reform in Estonia in 2019, and in 2019, as I said, she helped to introduce the career services reform. And for the last 2 years, Kerstin has been managing the international relations of the PES and belongs also to the project team of organizing the WAPES 12th World Congress. Welcome, Kerstin. And the next, Mrs. Anne-Céline Adnet. She is from Le Forem, which is the Belgian Public Employment Service. She's the expert of strategy and marketing. She's skilled in marketing strategy and operation, change management, contact center development, and multi-public communications, internal corporate B2B and B2C. Earlier, she has worked for 12 years in the private energy sector, where she was a communication officer and also marketing project manager. She joined the employment public sector in 2013. So she will introduce us the Forem and how it works in Belgium. Welcome, Ms. Adnet. So these are our speakers today who will share their experience in this area and tell us what is their experience and how to improve the reputation of public employment services and reliability. And now, Ms. Anzu, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to express gratitude to all of the participants. My name is Anzu Shiraishi from Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. Today, I would like to introduce public employment services and the policy response against COVID-19 crisis. Firstly, I would like to explain about a labor and employment trend amid COVID-19 crisis. I will explain how the Japanese labor market was affected in the COVID-19 crisis. The upper graph shows the situation of active job openings and active applications. Between the first 6 months in 2020, the number of active job openings dramatically went down. On the other hand, the number of active job applications increased 20% after May 2020. The most damaged industry is hospitality industry, such as hotels and restaurants. Women in non-regular employment working in this industry are most affected. As you can see in the graph below, the number of persons finding a job also went down. This number recovered a little in August 2020. However, this recovery was not sufficient comparing before the pandemic. In Japan, job centers is called Hello Work. This nickname is very popular and it is widely recognized in Japan. Let me introduce why we have the nickname of Hello Work. Before the 1990s, public employment service was psychologically very far from ordinary people. The ministry wanted to give a friendly impression on job centers. So, the ministry held a contest to decide the nickname of job centers. Nowadays, this nickname is widely recognized in Japan with good impression. Hello Work is one of the most familiar public institutions with 544 offices nationwide. The number of the staff in Hello Work are about more than 35,000. It offers three main duties, that is, job placement for job seekers, employment measures for employers, and employment insurance benefits. Next, I would like to introduce consultation services to support job seekers. Hello Work provides many consultation services to support job seekers who need special support. The left pictures on this slide shows Mother's Hello Work. Mother's Hello Work provides consultation for mothers with young children. They have a special issue to return work after finishing maternity leave. As you can see in the picture, Mother's Hello Work provides family-friendly environment. So, the job seekers easy to visit the office with their children. Also, the right picture shows team support for middle-aged job seekers who don't have enough working experience. The support team offers various consultations according to the needs of job seekers. For example, the services are career consultation, life planning advice, and support through seeking the job opportunity. This slide shows the policy response of Hello Work against the COVID-19. The pandemic has caused serious damages in Japan. Specifically, the number of non-regular employment in service industry has dramatically decreased. In order to address employment issues in the pandemic, Hello Work conducted 4 measures from 2020. The first point is to strengthen various support services. Hello Work increased the number of counselors. They help job seekers to create a CV to apply for a new job. The second point is to enhance services of developing job openings. As the number of job openings dramatically went down, Hello Work increased the number of staff who develop new job offers. The third point is to expand subsidies, benefits, and vocational trainings to support employers and employees. Specifically, the subsidies are efficient to retain their employees. The last point is online consultation services for job seekers. I will talk about details of this activity in the next slide. Now, I will talk about the history of promoting online services. In the 1990s, Hello Work established a website for job seekers that is called Hello Work Internet Services. However, this service was limited only to seek jobs. Therefore, job seekers were required to visit office when they apply for the job. In 2020, Hello Work expanded online services for employers. Employers create My Page on the website to register job offerings to Hello Work. Moreover, the major Hello Work offices provide an online-based job application services for job seekers. In September 2021, online consultation services started for job seekers on a trial basis. Job seekers create My Page on the website and apply for job openings online. In the future plan, online consultation services will further expand. Firstly, Hello Work will provide online seminars for job seekers and employers. Secondly, the online consultation services will start in Mother's Hello Work. This expansion will be great benefit to job seekers with young children. These activities will increase the accessibility, especially for many people with difficulties. We believe that this plays an important role to provide employment security net responding to COVID-19 crisis. Let me conclude in terms of public employment service reputation in Japanese society. As I mentioned the nickname of the Hello Work over and over again in this presentation, Hello Work is very popular in Japanese society and gets a good reputation. Under the name of the Hello Work, we offer services according to the individual need of job seekers and employers. Now, we are challenging many issues amid COVID-19 crisis. Hello Work conducts many measures against COVID-19 crisis and promotes online services. In the future, Hello Work will expand online services furthermore. Finally, I would like to emphasize that Japanese public employment service plays a very important role to promote employment security net. We believe that the policy response to the pandemic optimized labor market in Japan. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Anzu. Nous avons prévu
Thank you very much, Ms. Anzu.
présentation, nous prendrons 5 minutes pour voir s'il y a
At the end of each presentation, we have planned 5 minutes for questions, comments, anything you've noticed. So we will have this opportunity now. Is there anyone who would like to ask questions either online or in the hall here? So 5 minutes for that, and then we'll continue with the next speaker.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really interesting. I'm Lenka Kind. I'm from the VDAB, another PES in Belgium. I have one question related to mothers with young children. You speak about Hello Work, especially for mothers, with everything there so that the kids can play when their mothers are having the services they need. But how is it once they start to work? Is this also an evolution on the job place in Japan, or do you have enough sufficient childcare afterwards? Because this is an issue we are struggling with in our country. Thank you.
Oui. Madame Anzu. Est-ce qu'elle a entendu la question?
Madame Anzu, did you hear my question?
Hello? Do you get the question?
Did you hear our question, Madam?
Thank you, moderator.
Yeah. There
Uh,
is a question for you.
could I answer it laterly because now I confirm it?
Oui, un peu plus tard. D'accord.
Yes, it's possible to answer a little later. Yes.
Très bien, très bien.
Thank you so much.
D'accord. Ce que nous allons faire maintenant, on va faire un petit exercice avant de passer à la prochaine session.
So, before the next session,
Vous les avez?
we'll have a little
Nous allons faire un petit exercice, un petit sondage
thing planned for you. Do you have your tablets? There's a short survey.
qui vous vienne à l'esprit quand on parle
Please write down three or tell me three words
trois mots
that first come to your mind when we talk about the reputation of public employment services. Three words that come to your mind when we talk about this topic. When we talk about the reputation of public employment services, what are the three words that come to your mind? The first three ones.
La technique? Oui, voilà, c'est bon. On va prendre une minute pour les réponses.
You have 1 minute to answer.
Oui, c'est ce qui est affiché, je suppose. La technique nous accompagne.
I hope that the technology does not let us down.
Non. On n'a pas fait. OK. D'accord. OK. Ben, vous n'avez pas eu besoin de répondre. On a déjà fait un sondage.
So, the survey has been conducted. The answers are there.
Voilà les d'accord. Voilà les sondages. Vous devez choisir maintenant.
So, look at the questions and
Non, trois.
you can choose three words.
Alors, on va clôturer dans... Ça continue de voter.
Yeah, you can continue voting or choosing the words.
On va clôturer. Donc,
And may we finish?
donc les usagers des services.
So first of all, the users of service among job seekers and employers. Yes, the technology worked. So you saw what were the results. First two answers
En fait, nos clients, c'est eux qui nous
were the main ones that were chosen.
demandent de la réputation. Alors maintenant,
So the first two answers relate most
Monsieur Gana,
to the work or to the reputation of our services. Now we will listen to Mr. Gana Cisse.
de la confiance, de la réputation des services
You will tell us about the reputation in Senegal of the public employment services. Thank you.
Ah oui. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le modérateur.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for giving me the floor.
D'abord, l'ANSEP
I would like to
de
thank,
nous donner en fait cette opportunité de partager avec vous
first of all,
du débat
for the opportunity
communication.
to be here
Nous le ferons
and
en
tell us about the digital communication challenges for our public employment service. I would like to say hi to my co-panelists.
Je suis le directeur du
I'd like to thank the audience
Belge.
for being here.
Nous avons voulu
So I
présentation
work for the National Agency for the Promotion of Employment for Youth. I am their
l'intérêt pour les pays
the director of the agency.
avec la communication digitale.
And the first time we have started to pay attention to how public employment services could reach a digital market.
C'est cette
Yesterday, we spoke about the International Labour Organization Convention number 88.
l'emploi,
It is extremely important as a convention,
en développant des ressources productives.
and it influences the situation of work and employment.
En fait, des pays se sont inspirés de
It will help to reach the big
basant sur une
employment, full employment.
en réalité pour toucher en fait leur cible. L'ANPEJ, pour sa part, a mis en place un certain nombre de stratégies qui se résument en trois axes
We have taken into use several strategies.
pour faciliter en fait
The first and the most important one being
surtout les aider
is the information,
plus facilement.
access to the information. So it is very important to enable access to the information. The second is including youth.
Difficulté, disons, d'insertion des jeunes, parce qu'en réalité, on sait qu'ils sont généralement,
There are several issues with that.
ils éprouvent beaucoup de difficultés à s'insérer parce qu'en fait, les
Very often they are not knowledgeable enough about these opportunities. It is hard to include them.
marché de l'emploi. Et le second aspect, c'est le développement
There is no information neither for the youth nor from the employers.
le salariat
We should also look into other opportunities
des employeurs.
for job creation, not only paid jobs.
10 minutes. Ça va être difficile. Alors là, bien entendu, la problématique qu'on nous a posée, c'est de voir un peu comment encadrer en réalité ces stratégies. Sur la base d'une communication
Obviously, the issues we talk about here
gagner en notoriété, en visibilité auprès de nos
concern about digital communication, how to use it better
et
to improve the reputation of public employment services and the visibility.
d'améliorer sa notoriété et sa crédibilité auprès de ses clients.
It is how to use different digital tools to improve the reputation, as I said, the e-reputation,
Et bien entendu, les prestataires.
to make them better known among youth, among women.
Le premier aspect que nous allons voir, c'est l'intérêt pour les pays de se positionner sur le marché de l'emploi. Alors,
The first thing we will look into is the interest of the public employment services to come to the digital market.
en réalité, les outils numériques, c'est un,
We all know that in reality,
il entretient un rapport
the-
direct avec le client.
these digital tools are important. It's important to use them for communication with customers,
Il fait
social media, and its influence
de manière spontanée et
is much bigger than we imagine. They enable us to, or they make us respond spontaneously.
direct entre en réalité l'outil, la communication digitale en fait et le client. Il a agilité et résilience. Agilité,
And it is very important for us to use these tools better to
ramener à nos propres villes.
better manage the communication with our customers. During COVID crisis, we saw our vulnerable sides. We realized what are the weaker sides. We understood how to better organize communication on distance, how to organize webinars. So we realized how to use all kind of digital tools online. Digital communication is very efficient.
Il n'y a pas de vent favorable pour celui qui ne sait pas où il va, disait Sénèque. C'est le sens de
It has its
pointu de l'observation,
aims.
telle flexibilité. Alors,
It allows to be flexible at a certain level.
la première mission qu'on a assignée à l'Amegbegji, disons dans ce cadre-là, c'est la mise en place d'un
So the first important mission we took upon was to create
système, le site WWC,
a decent information system.
associé à la plateforme WWW-Emploi.
We have a web page for our agency, and you can see it here on the slide.
Les pôles emploi entrepreneur
All of the information is available on this web page.
et de rapprochement.
So it's a one-stop shop for youth,
Alors,
for all employment questions they may have.
emploi jeune.sn, vous serez redirigé
If you click on this link, www.emploijeune.sn, you will see all kind of information.
aux employeurs en réalité une offre de services digital conforme aux standards internationaux.
So namely the information that the job seeker might need.
Front office, hein, depuis son inscription jusqu'à son insertion en passant par les étapes
There will be first steps
formation,
from
financement.
registration,
En fait, les acteurs clés
starting from the registration on the web page of Public Employment Service and to financing. We have
des pays
all the participants of our web ecosystem, and they all contribute
du demandeur
to its working.
valeur, Amegbegji assurant en fait l'accueil lors
They contribute to making the job-seeking process simpler.
et l'ONFP assurant
They carry out all kind of coaching, counseling,
et bien entendu
information publishing, financing, and so on. All kind of various services are available.
Itagat, qui est une plateforme d'apprentissage et de mentorat.
In addition to that,
Itagat, c'est formation,
we have a platform for e-learning,
qui est une plateforme de formation
which looks into trainees, into training opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, all that to make the situation better for young job seekers.
projet, la création d'un incubateur virtuel pour
So it's the training platform,
jeunes entrepreneurs pour faciliter leur
and this project includes
projet. C'est l'association de l'agriculture
co-work of young employees.
d'insertion des jeunes agripreneurs. Le modèle d'insertion
The second project is about improving digital skills among young entrepreneurs.
disons intégré de production, de transformation, de
Although this platform is not completely ready yet, we do plan to integrate it into our service.
vraiment
This way we can include young agricultural entrepreneurs better.
réaliser l'émergence d'un écosystème
In agriculture,
numérique
the
où les jeunes
digital skills need to be improved.
coachés, formés. Alors, il y a le email marketing pour favoriser en fait un dialogue direct entre les conseillers en emploi et
We also carry out email marketing.
l'insertion. Les réseaux sociaux, Meta,
We carry out all kind of information campaigns. We also use social media for information campaigns.
impact en fait 2,7 milliards de personnes sont connectées
Social media
sur ce
are the most visited places online.
disons de
Young people or youth are very interactive on social media. They regularly go on social media.
jour sur cet algorithme-là et l'Amegbegji est vraiment très actif à ce niveau-là
They use the algorithm daily.
avec la cible.
There are millions of people using social media daily, so it is very important to use it as an information tool.
Nos cibles essayent de reproduire un peu nos publications et les transfèrent dans leur propre site ou alors les
Our aim
à ce niveau-là.
is to
nous aide un peu.
publish on our partner websites as well. So we do all of this to improve our visibility and
Ce qu'il
reputation. I've spoken very fast because I didn't want to lose any time.
et de découpler un peu notre audience. Mais nous sommes
All of these networks have enabled us to gain better,
en réalité mettre en place
to be better known, but we have to look even further
faudra peut-être en fait un plan de
We
stratégie
need to have strategic tools.
connecté
We need a strategic marketing plan.
aller plus loin, mais nous verrons en réalité
We need to make a plan for that, how to connect, how to share online.
dans le secteur des TIC
The actual real activity we really need to work on is organizing trainings.
de faire de tous les cadres de l'AMCEP des experts en digital. Ça, pour vraiment
We must make sure that
plus vite et
digital skills improve among our own employees.
bien entendu, nous devons être
This way,
présents
we can be better known among society.
très présents à ce niveau-là. Twitter qui vient d'être acheté par Elon Musk,
In addition to that, we need professional networks, create professional networks, and using all kind of social media.
ça vous donne de la notoriété et remet du
This will make us better known
ça c'est
and gives us
bien entendu
additional value.
en réalité impliqué.
It is really crucial.
Je pense à la stratégie de Netflix
Of course, we can also use influencers.
puis avec Barça et aujourd'hui
We can use all these platforms such as Spotify, Netflix, and so on. Nowadays, there are so many strategical tools.
cette annonce-là dans son réseau social et ça a été vu par des milliers de personnes à travers le monde. Nous pouvons en réalité
If we publish information on social media or in this network, it reaches millions right away.
et il me semble important et ça c'est une conviction
And once again, this helps us become better known, which is crucial, as I said.
en fait le management de la qualité totale dans ce que nous sommes en train de faire. Ça,
But we also must make sure that we would have better quality. We must create a quality management system. The better quality, the more efficient we are.
évaluer
And it is very important to get to that point. We have to follow and analyze the activities we have already carried out.
avec vous. Merci de votre aimable attention.
So that was all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Cisse, pour cette information. Est-ce qu'il y a une question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cisse, for the information.
Oui, bonjour, je m'appelle Catherine Barme, je suis la coordinatrice emploi et travail de la facilité SocioPlus. J'ai été vraiment très intéressée par votre présentation, je vous remercie. Je me posais un peu la question,
Thank you very much, Mr. Cisse. It was very interesting to listen
est-ce que vous assurez une
to what you told us. But I have a question. You were speaking about the reputation mostly,
irréputation,
but
jeu de mots de I, mais la mauvaise
when
Est-ce que vous avez des... Voilà, merci.
when you make use of digital means, is it possible that some sort of bad reputation may come along? What would you answer?
Chargé de cette activité-là. Récemment,
Yes, we have our own team for that purpose. These are people whose task is to deal with such situations. We did have an experience, not well, too bad, but
et quelqu'un a
in Senegal,
sur Facebook que nous sommes en train donc de parler
all sorts of digital activities, they have different levels of reputation.
disant que c'est l'ANPEJ qui est derrière tout ça et que forcément, et là vraiment, ça a été vu par l'équipe choc qui est chargée donc
Some events
direction de cela.
in Facebook, which were not initiated by us, for some reason information started to spread around that our agency was behind it. But we managed to solve this crisis. But if we hadn't paid enough information to the situation from the very beginning, probably our reputation would have been damaged, which means that we need to monitor the reaction of people continuously, people who visit our website.
Seulement quelqu'un, deux ou trois personnes qui sont en train de dire des choses derrière, juste pour Parce qu'en réalité, c'est des gens qui généralement ne maîtrisent même pas ce qu'ils disent.
If there are some postings, it is always possible that there are people who want to criticize it or want to say something different about it. So from that point of view, it is very important that we continuously pay attention what is happening in order to interfere when necessary. And of course, as I said, there are specially trained people for that purpose. We have our own team, and they are dealing in trying to keep those negative happenings away from us. Thank you very much. Do you have other questions? Yes, the topic that we are discussing here now, reputation, visibility, and trust. The final goal here is naturally that the public employment services with their contact points and agencies are visible and accessible both for job seekers but also for employers. And now speaking about employment, all these activities that you mentioned, have you managed to increase the number of your clients? Do you feel that after having done all those things that you explained about, have you seen that there is a considerable increase of clients to you? Thank you. It's a very topical question. Of course, we monitor all the time how our activities are developing, and we have gained considerably more clients thanks to these activities. But of course, we have our database. It's about 50,000 job keepers in our database. And from the time when we started to use information systems more, we have such a system of information. We call it actually one window shopping, which means that all the information necessary you get from one site. And as I mentioned, this information is about funding, financing, all sorts of activities. We use our information system both on the labor market, but also the database we have is used for that purpose. And speaking about it, in the beginning there was a certain hesitancy about it, speaking about different target groups. But now I understand that we have reached a certain level, we have proved that it does function, and we take care of it, how actual employment is carried out. Employing somebody. There are different people whose task is to see how payments are done or how people are paid for. But we try to direct our youth in the right direction. In other words, direct them towards these employers from where they can get something necessary for them or useful. Thank you. Thank you. We come back to you when there will be more questions coming. But now I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Holland, who is going to speak to us about labor market in Estonia.
So I stand, if I may. Thank you. Very good afternoon to you all. My name is Kerstin Holland, and today with my presentation, I would like to tell you how we at Eesti Töötukassa have managed to create a reliable and efficient labor market institution. To begin with, a few words about our organization. So we are an independent public body with tripartite management, which means that we have job seekers, government, employers and trade unions on equal foot represented in our supervisory board, which is the highest decision-making body in our organization. We have almost 1,000 employees working at service points all over Estonia. Our clients are job seekers, people in employment, employers, and young people, also including students. And our business strands, we provide services, pay out benefits and allowances, and also conduct workability assessment. But now to the main topic of my presentation. So how have we managed to create our reliability, and how have we managed to have an impact with our actions? So every organization knows who wants to achieve its goals that of key importance is every organization knows that in order to achieve your goals, you need to do strategic communication. Because you don't want your reputation just to form in some sort of way, but you want to have your hand on its pulse. We have taken the choice not to let it just float, but to guide our reputation in a strategic way. So how have we done it? The first point is to mark down your target groups. For us, the first target group is our PES, our employees, because they are the first face towards our clients. And so our employees are the face of our organization. And for that, internal communication is of crucial importance, because you need to have your employees in the same information room as your general organization is. And you also want to have employees who share your values, who share your organization's values. And for that, we have paid special attention to employer branding, and that has really paid off since Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund got the reward of being a dream employer in 2022. And for us, also, co-creation with stakeholders is something that goes hand in hand with the PES. So when we talk about the PES, we also mean our stakeholders. The second target group, of course, are our clients, to whom we want to provide good customer service, professional counseling, and services that are of relevance and high quality. So the services that are really needed by the clients and that are there for the clients when they need them. Our third target group are our partners, local governments, service providers, professional associations. We want them to share our goals, to feel our strategic goals. So if we walk with them in the same pathway, they share the idea that they also want to achieve our goals, and that in turn also has a positive effect on our reputation. And finally, of course, the general public, towards whom we do constantly external communication and also carry out marketing campaigns. Why do we do it? What are the objectives of our such activities? So the core or the neck of our communication activities is to introduce the Estonian PES to the public, so that the public knows what the PES does and knows in what situation is the person weighted at the PES. And we do it, again, daily with different media activities. And the head or the idea, so why should one do it like this? Our idea is to maintain the good reputation that we have gained in our society, and yes, to maintain the reliability that the Estonian PES has achieved. But it's not about just talking what you do. You really have to have a very qualitative content in what you do. So a good example can be brought out of the Estonian experience at times of COVID crisis, when we managed to create the service of short-time working scheme with just about 2-3 weeks, and it was a process of full automatization and processing online. And we were there when employers and employees really needed us, and we provided them with the support that was needed at that moment. So again, at the end of my presentation, where I will show you how we have done with our trustworthiness index, you can see also how this was reflected in our score. But in order not to talk so broadly about our experiences, let's take a focus on a concrete set of measures. I would like to tell about our experience based on unemployment prevention measures, with which 4 years ago we took the goal that we want to increase the number of people who participate in unemployment prevention measures. And how we did it? We took the approach of marketing. So we created a brand, Work and Study, and we started conducting marketing campaigns twice a year. And now to the lessons. What did we learn? And what would I like to share with you? First of all, you have to choose the right message and the channels in order to reach your different target groups. What do I mean with this? For example, when you want to approach the older segment of the population, it's the traditional media that works better for this target group. So what we did, we had a very good cooperation with our national broadcasting, and we had a TV show that has a very good airtime, and we had elderly people there sharing their real life experiences. So people being 60 plus, making a complete change, a turn in their career, and being happy in their new position, and yes, really talking what they have been through, and such things really work in our experience for all the older people's target group. While at the same time, you will not catch the young people in newspapers or in TV. They are not there. They are in their smartphones. So what we did, we have an app that is used by all students who go to school, and we inserted our information about career services into that app. So when students daily use their app, they also saw the possibility to come and have a chat with us. And they did come. Our second lesson was that you have to be simple and you have to be human. What I mean with this is that what we have experienced, difficult videos when officials talk in detail about their services, we might think that it's very good because it gives you all details, but actually it doesn't really, because the audience, they don't get the points. And what we have used is simple animated videos. We will watch one of them in just a few seconds. The audio is in Estonian, but you can easily see the subtitles, which are in English. And yes, let's see how we managed to call our clients to use our e-services.
Mõnikord juhtub, et üks töö lõpeb, aga teist pole veel silmapiiril. Kuidas ja kuhu edasi? Kuniks mõte selgineb, on õige aeg end töötuna arvele võtta ja hüvitist taotleda.
So sometimes one job is over and the next hasn't come there. This is the right time to register yourself in the local PES. And how to do that? The simplest way would be to launch an application in our web page. And the program accepts the information submitted, but also finds the necessary information from other databases that the government has. And that means that you find the unemployment benefit on your bank account in due time. And it doesn't take more than 7 days. And with this period, 260 children are born in Estonia, 12.5 millimeters of rain falls down, and you get your unemployment benefit. And from then on, you can start discussing your career already with the counselors. And the benefit will be on your bank account in no time. And please visit our webpage and get acquainted with our e-services.
Simple, easy, but really gives you the point. Moving on with our lessons, dare to be bold and think out of the box. As I mentioned, we have had these marketing campaigns twice a year. It's a struggle each time to to really catch the eye of the audience. What we did last autumn, we created coffee travel van. We traveled around Estonia, offered coffee and fortune cookies, and talked to people about their careers, their job choices, etc. What we got as a feedback was a complete surprise. People said that, wow, I don't have to go to the PES, but the PES comes to me, and they are really interested in how am I doing. So again, a very simple way of being human and catching the eye of your audience. Sometimes even being a bit entertaining might be a good idea. Be bold, but don't exceed the level of a good taste. But yes, sometimes a bit of entertaining can be good. What we did, we created clothes changing booths at beaches, and it had reasons and pictures on it why I was late for work, or why didn't I go to work while I was actually at the beach. And we invited on those booths people to come over, have a chat with us, and let's find together a job that you don't want to miss, that where you don't have to say your colleagues why you were late for work, because you don't want to be late for work, it's your dream job. So it might seem that we do a lot, and yes, we do a lot, but we also measure what we do, because we want to know where we can do better. So we analyze what we do. And we check daily the regular media, we look at clicks on our homepage, we analyze if participation in services increased when we have had a marketing campaign to see whether there really was an effect. And we conduct two major studies, one every second year, study of awareness, and the other study of trustworthiness, which we do once a quarter. Here you can see a general graph depicting how we have done. In 2018, we set a goal that we would like to have our trustworthiness index higher than 60%. As you can see, it's the below darker line. We even reached the level of 75%, and that was the effect of the short-time working schemes. It's okay to have these ups and downs here. For us, it very clearly shows when we have been more active, when we have been more visible in the public, and when we go a bit down, it's not that we haven't done anything completely wrong, but it's just that we haven't been on the picture. And the upper line shows the surveys conducted among 25 to 27 public institutions, and so the rank where we have been. And again, the highest point has been that we have managed to achieve the 5th position in that survey. But before us are the institutions who provide security in Estonia, or the president, and we consider it absolutely normal not to be higher than 5. Otherwise, in a democratic country, it would be a little bit weird. So I've come to an end of my presentation. But with the ending notes, I'd like to say that none of this would have been possible without our employees, who really share the values of our organization, and also the nature of the leadership and the management that we have, that also supports us of having these sometimes out-of-box communication solutions. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Merci, Madame Holland. Nous avons 5 minutes de questions.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes for questions now.
On va commencer par vous, puis après.
So let's start from there.
It's very, very interesting. First. Usually, in employment services, the most difficult public is young people. It's very difficult for employment services to convince young people to use their services. Is it the same in your country?
Yes, I think it could be the same in all countries, because the traditional image that the PESs tend to have is more that the PES is only for the unemployed people. Yet again, we have been there for young people since 2019 by providing career services. Estonian PES is the sole provider of career services in Estonia, also including young people and students. So we haven't had a magic wand, but what we have managed to do is that we go to schools. Our career specialists go to schools, talk about the possibilities that we have, and we hope to see the effect coming in maybe maybe 10 years' time, when it's really has been, it's a normality that the PES is your partner since, let's say, you are 12 years old. If you have a question where to go and study next, it's the PES you go and turn to. So yes, we have challenges now, but thanks to the possibility of offering career services also to the young people, I think we are doing better year by year.
Donc, merci beaucoup, Madame, pour cette présentation.
Thank you very much.
Sur ce que fait
Thank you very much for this interesting presentation
Vous avez parlé pendant
on how the communication is carried out in Estonia for the Estonian PES.
confiance.
You spoke about tools that enable to measure your visibility and reputation. Could you tell us what kind of tools you use, or how do you measure it?
Yes.
What are the indicators to measure?
If I got it right, you are interested in hearing about what different tools we use to measure how we are doing. So a few points I brought out on the slide. There are some things that we do daily. So we check what is the opinion of the public based on the media reports. Are we on a positive tone, negative tone? Is it neutral? We also conduct, for example, awareness surveys among different target groups to know, for example, if we want to reach the young people, we ask the young people questions about us, and then we can find it out if really young people know about us, or we should do something extra in order to achieve their attention. Also, the trustworthiness survey also clicks on homepage to see whether if we have posted a news or we have a new measure, do really people click on this news, or is it hidden so much that people cannot find it? So yes, different ways how we try to measure how we are doing. So not just one golden key that tells everything.
Merci. On a encore un peu de temps. On va prendre la dernière.
La dernière est la plus courte. C'est juste,
the last question.
De la visibilité, ce qui est bien. Mais
you showed the indicators to measure visibility, but how do you measure trustworthiness, trust?
Que les gens approchent de vos
For example, if you measure visibility, do you also measure this where the people turn to you more or less? I would like to know if visibility and trust go hand in hand, and if such trust brings along more clients to you, either from job seekers or from employers.
Yes, thank you for the question. I do believe that trust and visibility do go hand in hand, since what's the trustworthiness survey is based on is that we ask people older than 15 years of age. We have a so to say, questioning among 1,000 people, and we ask them upon these different institutions who participate in the survey, do you trust these organizations? And from a level I completely trust or I don't trust at all. So there's the level, and people base their opinion on what they have experienced, and or what they have read, what they have seen. So even if the person hasn't had a direct contact with us, if he or she has seen what we do, so that was very nicely reflected on the graph. Even people who hadn't had any contact with us, but they had read from the news what the Eesti Töötukassa did at COVID crisis time with this short-time working scheme measure. It was something positive they had in their minds, and thanks to that we managed to, yes, increase our trustworthiness. So I do believe that these two go hand in hand. Yeah.
Merci beaucoup à Madame Holland.
Thank you very much, Madame Holland. And now, the last presentation. Anne-Céline, the visibility, trust, what is it for you?
That keeps us all dynamic before the pause. Well, thank you also for the other speaker, and I think my presentation is going to be pretty much very complementary to, I would say, the strategic aspect that you have said. First of all, just maybe a few figures, so then you put in perspective maybe some other figures that I'm going to give about the example I'm going to share. I'm just going to point out, we don't see that much, but it's so we're one of the 3 PES in Belgium. We organize regionally in the south, and we have about 1.5 million active population. And out of this active population, we have an unemployment percentage of a little bit more than 13%. So I would say it's way too much. Some people would say it's good, not good. That's what it is in Belgium and what we need to face. Which means that also if in terms of numbers of customer that we have, is it job seeker or is it employers? You can see that it's about 200,000 job seekers and about a little bit more than 60,000 recruiters. So that's our audience, that's our public mainly. And here, the example I'm going to take is with the young people. So your question was, I was not prepared, but it's good. But before I jumped into the concrete campaign, we, in our strategy, communication strategy, we always try to keep in mind these 3 strategic drivers, which mean that communication for us is, of course, to let people know. That's kind of the basics. That was also what Kerstin told us. Make people like, that's another way of saying, okay, the employer branding. And of course, make people act, because it's nice to do communication, but at one point, if it doesn't contribute to the performance of the PES or any company, I don't think it's useful. The example I'm going to take is the young people, because we noticed in Belgium, as one of the participants said, that we had a decrease of registration of these young people, which was absolutely not the case, I would say, 10 or 20 years ago. Then before they had kind of the reflex of coming, probably because the parents had told them, and I was kind of, okay, I'm finished with my job, now I go through the Forem, I do my registration. Of course, I was also more linked than it is now with financial benefits, which now the rules are more stricter. So I don't think they see the point sometimes to go to the PES. And as Kerstin said, sometimes it's also this administration stuff, this is not for me. This is they don't think of it. So we had that problem. Well, in Belgium, that's about 30,000 people, so it's quite a lot. And our objective was really that we didn't want these people to get into what we could call the no man's land of the job market. We have some already, and we just don't want to increase that amount. So that was our first objective. And of course, the second objective was that, okay, if we can catch them, make sure that they use our services, probably more online, because that's also the way they activate, they work more. And a general one that could help, because then if we can convince 1 or 2, then maybe this 1 or 2 can convince 1 or 2 more, and then we can spread the word, was of course to, what I would say, demystify the PES, the administration, and explain to them what we stand for, what we can offer them. So that's what was really the 3 objectives of the campaign I'm going to present to you. How did we do this? Well, we do that every day. How did we try to do that a little bit more during one communication campaign? Let's be humble. But first of all, the human aspect is also very important, I think, with everybody, but especially with young people. So we used young people to talk to young people, real young people. Not casting real young people talking to young people. The slogan we use, donc reprends les commandes de ton avenir, reprends because it was also after COVID-19, so that could be translated into take control again of your future, and by concrete tips to find a job. So with them, you really need to talk about what the value that you can offer them, and a job, of course, it's a value that we can offer them and the way we get there. And we decided, as Kerstin said too, we need to be where they are. They are not much on television. They are not much in the street just opening the door of customer services of Forem or anyone, but they are on the digital, they're on different social media. So we try to activate all that. And that looks like a lot. It is a lot, but it's also sometimes definitely much more cheaper than any spot on television, on a radio anyway. So, and you can follow it much better. So we create, maybe I go back there. So we created what we use really as material. It was just, I would say, just to try to make it accessible, 5 little videos, what we call reels in their vocabulary. And with these 5 ones, we recycle. We use all the time the same material that we use in different social media, in our internal, external, and everywhere. So it's not always that you have to have lots of messages and lots of things. You can just play with the same stuff and use it in all the different channels. When everything was ready, I totally agree with Kerstin. We inform first our personnel, our staff members, for 2 reasons. First, at one point, most of them, they're going to face probably a young job seeker. So I just hate when I hear something within my family, outside my family, but that's the same with your company. I think people just hate to hear in the press something that they didn't hear before from their own boss or from their own company. While here we have, email, because that's already a channel that we have, an intranet, whatever you have, just use what you have. That could be a poster. A poster is fine. Could be, I mean, digital is digital, but you can also do some things with real life. So, but use your internal channel, use your manager to tell them. Whatever exists, use it. Afterwards, we also activate the press. We saw in the poll at the beginning, and that the press came too. I would say it's free in the sense that if you ask a journalist to write an article, you're not going to have to pay to have that published online or wherever. Well, of course, it requires expertise, but it's free and it works. The only thing that we just notice is that it's totally over the time where you can just do a press conference and then just tell them, oh, I'm going to do a campaign, and you kind of explain the campaign, but the journalist is going to say, well, I'm not even coming to do your press conference because it's not something that's going to interest exactly my reader. He also has his audience to convince. So what we did here is actually we conducted before the campaign a little poll. It was 5 or 6 questions that we spread online to our database of some of the job seekers and some of the recruiters, just to ask them what is for you e-reputation. How do you use it when you look for a job for the job seeker or for the employer? Do you look on the social media before you recruit somebody, just to have an idea? And with these 5 or 6 questions, we had result, and that result was then really interesting for the journalist. And then afterwards, that gave us the occasion to talk about Le Forem, to talk about the young, to be able to see, but you see in the young people there is a difference compared to older people. And then we had our subject for the media, which really worked in the different media, was that then television, you for free on television, you for free on the radio, and it works really well. Of course, and that was the first in the poll that you said that you need to talk to your audience. So then we use also our external channel. We have a Facebook account, we have an Instagram account, we don't have a TikTok account. We use the Facebook account, but not for the young seeker because they're not on it anymore, but we use it for the parents because the parents are a channel for the young people. And the YouTube, of course, since it was video. Anyways, whatever you have as external channel too, just use them first, of course. Don't go pay for Google ads or Facebook ad if you don't use first what you have as a channel. So that's what we did. And then that's a little the innovative part and creative that I want to share with you. Of course, depending also on your situation, but it's always best to pay a little bit to be seen too. There is no miracle, depending on your situation, your country, but it's it's a lot of competition to be in the media in Belgium anyway. So at one point you kind of have to push it a little bit with some money. And here for the first time, so I would say, of course, we bought a little bit of Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and all these things. But we also worked for the first time with web influencer, which I saw in the polls was really like 0, which is not the first one. So I agree with you. I wouldn't have put that as the first one. But I would definitely say for young people, I think if you don't use it, you're going to have a problem at one point. Because you could say it's sad, you could say it's totally incredible. If we would have told me 10 years ago that I was going to pay a 15-year-old girl who's polishing her nail all the time to give a message about the PES, I would have said never, never. Well, it's not exactly that stereotype of girl that we chose, of course. The web influencer that you choose needs to be very selective. And my recommendation is really to use an agency for that. It's getting a job. It's like we said this morning, we are lots of new jobs we're going to create, but this is definitely a new business there, and that creates new jobs. So we need to accept that too. So we did work with an agency who actually select for us. We gave them the briefing. We give them a little bit, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to reach. And that's their job to go, they really have a database of all influencers, sometimes what they call micro or macro or micro or nano or whatever the influence they have on the web. And then they propose to us, then we can go check a little bit and say, okay, no, this girl with the polishing nail, and never mind, and this one, maybe yes, but based on what we can see and on their accounts. And then afterwards, what happened is that you don't just pay and they say yes. That doesn't work like that anymore. It's not like on television or on radio. You just go and it's kind of also matching. It's just we have a proposition and then they can accept or they can refuse. But then, so some of them refuse, some of them accept, and the one who accept, that's also their reputation anyway. So they only accept subject that they feel sufficient enough with it. And then afterwards, and that's the hardest part, but I really encourage you to do it, is that you need to accept that you lose control of the message that's going to be spread. So it's also over that you validate your message all the way to the top of the boss, and then it goes through the television exactly the way he saw it on the board. Of course, with that, it's absolutely not the case. You just give him, if I made a comparison, is that you give them the ingredient for the recipe, but you not exactly know which kind of cake it's going to make. You know normally it's going to make a cake because you gave sugar and everything, so it's not going to do spaghettis. But, I mean, you need to accept that it's going to be different. But if you ask my opinion, just do it. Because honestly, I rather having that and maybe a cake that would be different than my cake, but at least the cake reached the public, than just having a nice cake who sits on my kitchen and that nobody is going to eat it because nobody is going to see it. So, but I know it's hard, but my experience is that just do it with boundaries and with an agency, of course. Just maybe the last slide. So then we see also the factor for the evaluation, and in that case, it worked. It worked because we had better view on YouTube, so we were seen. And we see that's new visitors, because that's what is important too. It's 90% new viewers, so that means that people who didn't see us before. More, visits on the website during campaign. Well, incredibly high in Instagram, I need to be totally honest, we were very, very low. So the potential of growing was, of course, tremendous. But also the most important, the registration at the end, we saw an increase of 30%. And out of these 30%, 35% actually use one of our most important web services, which is the professional profile that we put online, which allow the automatic matching with the recruiter. Thank you very much, and I'm ready for some questions.
Merci beaucoup. Voilà, on va prendre une ou deux questions à Madame Anne-Céline, et puis...
Now we are going to have one or two questions to the speaker. Ms. Anzu in Japan is also ready to join us when she has got the answer to the question she was asked.
des politiques et des programmes actifs du marché du travail.
Hello, on my behalf, we are specialized to assess the programs meant to raise the activity of employment services. Your presentation was very interesting, and my question
La visibilité et la réputation, est-ce que vous comparez, comment vous comparez aux agences privées de placement, si vous en avez dans...
My question is, how do you assess or how do you compare the results, like we heard from Estonia? And the second question is, what are your risks?
Enfin, la question pourrait être plus générale, mais alors la comparaison avec...
Yes, perhaps it is a general answer I'm going to give you, but to speak about how to compare us, I would say we don't compare us with others. We have colleagues in the second PES in Belgium. We can compare our results with them. And we make use of our own internal communication channels for that purpose. We have benchmarking, we have indicators, and we have special department and people whose task is to compare the results. And the other question was about bad reputation.
On a aussi, par exemple, la formation. Donc, on est aussi responsable de la formation.
As a matter of fact, we have a training department, which means that we train the job seekers. And if our work is not sufficient, that influences our reputation, which means that they just go, they leave.
Mais là, on vient dans un débat presque politique et philosophique, mais donc ça veut dire que privé...
Of course, from here we come to the political and even philosophical discussion. We have to be available. This is a challenge for the whole society. It is important to guarantee the availability of such services by the public sector so that the citizens, employers, all people in the country trust the public service. Of course, there are all sorts of risks on the employment market, and that's what we also have to face. And now there will be an opportunity to ask questions through the web. And there is a question submitted already. It's a question addressed to Anne-Céline. How do you avoid the risk that you will be criticized when you are using so many different networks, social networks? I think that it is a very good idea to be exposed in different social networks. Of course, we bear in mind always that there is a certain risk. But the risks were also there earlier in traditional radio or TV. And I don't think that you should be scared by the first event which is not to your liking. The most important thing is that you don't overreact, because social media is a forum. It is a platform where people can express themselves, and they do it. And when you don't like the reaction, the most important thing is not to overreact. And you can just avoid whatsoever reaction. And sometimes you can use more balancing version, but also the commentary is a possibility. Very often you get both. You get positive and you get negative commentary. And sometimes you have to be ready to answer. You have to stay polite. And in social media, there are very many emotions involved, but you need to keep calm, relaxed, not too emotional. It's natural, and I think it's much, much better if we talk than we keep silent. Thank you. And do we have Ms. Anzu from Japan? Can the technicians check, please, whether Ms. Anzu from Japan is with us? Yes, she is. Very good. So, Ms. Anzu, do you have an answer?
Yeah.
Okay. We listen to you.
Thank you for your questions. I would like to answer the previous questions. I will answer the question about why and when Japanese peso started Mother's Hello Work. Mother's Hello Work established in 2006 as a national labor policy. Mother's Hello Work plays an important role to include female because the labor force in Japan was decreasing. So, PES in Mother's Hello Work carry out an affirmative action for women, especially mothers with young children. Mothers with young children are hard to find jobs because they have a company when they have a baby. They leave a company when they have a baby. This situation makes them difficult to find jobs when they return to work. They require balance between work and private life to take care of their children. That is why we established Mother's Hello Work specialized for them.
Merci beaucoup à tous les quatre. C'était très intéressant. Nous avons encore 17 minutes, si je ne m'abuse, pour faire le débat. Et vous allez me permettre de poser quelques questions aux panélistes, puis je vais vous donner la parole. Alors, je vais demander à M. Cisse.
If there are more questions to our panelists, then you are welcome to ask them. Just like in many African countries, also in Senegal, there are very big disparities. There is a big inequality, speaking about the access to the digital services and social networks. How are you going to solve the problems of this part of population who do not have access to digital means? Are you going to expand this possibility to all? Thank you for the question. It is true that right now not all Senegal people have access to digital means, but we have very many projects. For example, a project called Digital Senegal, which foresees additional digitalization. And for those who haven't got access now, I think, well, we have set certain goals to ourselves, how to reach the most vulnerable groups, citizens.
Ceux qui sont dépourvus de formation et d'emploi, qui n'ont pas souvent accès aux réseaux sociaux, etc.
Also, these people who don't have sufficient education or necessary training, also people with disabilities or moving impairments. We try to focus on these weaknesses. It is actually our obligation to deal with such target groups because we are providing public services and we have to find the solutions to the problems. we have a package with which we try to create a forum, a webinar, and this is communication in local language. I also mentioned MISA, which is a model that we are going to take into use. It is a very interesting model because it is about the whole country, the whole Senegal. And making use of digital means in agriculture. And here our goal is to bring more digitalization into agriculture, because we know that in this sector very often there is no sufficient access to it. It is an ongoing work right now. We haven't finished it yet, but we give our best. And at the same time, we try not to forget people with disabilities. We try to involve them, integrate them as much as possible. We also have an open e-training portal, which gives possibility to get knowledge without going anywhere. Plus local possibilities for acquiring education. And additionally, we are also aware that people with disabilities need special equipment. For example, if it's visual impairment, you need something that would make it possible to see the images better, or they need special keyboards. These are all adjustments that have to be done. And as said, we have set the goals for ourselves, and we are moving towards getting rid of these inequalities. And we are committed to achieve it. And on this level, it's also interesting that our main target group, it's young people, even if they are not trained for anything special, even if they are dropouts from educational system, but most of them have a smartphone already. They all have it. They all use Facebook, and that means that in principle it is possible to get access to our services. And statistics tells us that 99% of Senegal people are connected to internet. They have access to internet. Ms. Kerstin Holland, we know already that IT services in Estonia are very highly developed, but you also mentioned that different messages have to be addressed via different channels and to different age groups, for example. Would you tell us a little bit more on, based on what criteria you decide which group should need to approach by which channel?
Thank you for the question. I would say that the most simple answer to what group should be approached with which channel is usually based on the experience that we get. In general terms, we don't specify in very details the target groups that we have. It would depend on the information or on the need that they have. There is a great difference, yes, as I explained in my presentation, between young people and the old, but it also would depend on what kind of information we want to give them. So, for example, the content is based very greatly on, yes, what is the content and who is the target group, and based on that we make the decisions how we approach them. So, for example, if we want to advertise more the possibilities of unemployment prevention measures, where we support studying at vocational institutions and high schools, it would mean cooperation with those education institutions via whom we can approach our target group. Or, for example, if we talk about some regional measures, it would mean really going on the spot and talking to the people who are over there. So, yes, mainly based on the experience that we get, we modify the approaches, how we try to approach our different target groups.
Merci beaucoup. En attendant de vous redonner la parole, je sais que vous brûlez d'impatience de parler. Je voudrais poser une dernière question à Anne-Céline.
Thank you very much.
Seul conseil que vous pouvez retenir.
And now the last question to Anne-Céline. If you have a possibility to give one piece of advice how to organize an efficient communication, what would you say?
Well,
Anne-Céline, it's not a test.
So depending on your situation, but if you have communication experts, then my recommendation is that trust them, which mean you as manager or director, general director, you give them the objective or your problem or your situation. Of course, you give them information about who it is, who you want to target, and then you trust them from how we're going to do the message and with which channel that we're going to spread it. And if you don't have communication expert, because maybe that's the case, maybe think about hiring some, because communication is really an expertise, and an expertise is getting even more complex every day. And I think if you want to do it correctly, you just need to invest in it. That's really an investment for your performance.
Expertise, d'accord. Alors, je vais donner d'abord à... Voilà, là, merci. On a encore quelques minutes de débat, 7 minutes et demie.
Merci, je félicite tous les...
One more question, we have a couple of more minutes. Thank you very much for all speakers.
Cisse, parce que tout à l'heure, il y a un des participants.
My question is addressed to Mr. Cisse. How do you evaluate satisfaction of your clients? I've got the impression that the measuring of the satisfaction of job seekers is important. How have you organized this in Senegal? Or simply, it would be very interesting to hear, starting with your new system, has the satisfaction level among job seekers increased? And do you have statistical evidence about it? Do they make use of these systems which you have taken into use? And when they do use them, are they happy with them? because it was very inspiring to listen to the description of your system. But it would be interesting to know whether those for whom it's meant also like it. Are they satisfied?
Oui, merci beaucoup pour cette question. C'est très pertinent.
Thank you for your question. It is to the point.
Est libéralisé depuis plusieurs années. En fait,
our employment system is very liberal.
Pour l'employeur de soit se diriger vers les payeurs ou alors d'aller.
Employer has a complete freedom to decide.
Au recrutement lui-même. Il y a une seule différence.
So they can decide what is their employment procedure.
La différence pour l'employeur, c'est qu'en fait, le recrutement coûte cher. Si vous vous trompez, en réalité, vous pouvez reprendre le processus.
For an employer, the difference is the following, that the employment procedure is actually very expensive, and if it is unsuccessful, they would lose a very big amount of money. If they employ someone who is not skilled enough, then it might be so that they cannot get rid of this person or let this person go so easily. In private sector, an employer must pay for such service. There are areas with a very strict system. It states what are the skills. So that they could find the appropriate or suitable employee. Our service, however, is completely free, which is a huge advantage, I think. That is why we would have to analyze whether the service offered is actually needed. Is it a suitable service? If possible, if it's possible to use an efficient service which is free of charge, so all of the employment procedures, all of the hiring procedure is available to employers.
Est-ce que nous avons de regarder les yeux dans les yeux pour voir est-ce que nous avons satisfait totalement le processus. Et ça dépend
We just need to analyze whether our new procedures are completely satisfactory to all of the parties. It needs analyzing.
En réalité, se concentrer au même moment sur plusieurs en réalité processus. Il nous arrive.
We have to work for that. We cannot do everything at the same time. And procedures develop step by step.
Je n'ai pas aimé ce que vous avez fait, mais nous faisons un peu amende honorable pour pouvoir en fait rectifier le tir et voir.
If an employer lets us know that they are not happy with one or another thing, we usually look into the issue. What went wrong? What didn't work for them?
Numérique qui permettent en réalité de mesurer un peu le taux de satisfaction. Parce que vous avez atteint
When I speak about digital tools that enable us
le taux de fréquentation des employeurs. À partir de ce moment-là,
see how often people visit our sites and so on. So satisfactory is, or people are satisfied with our service, we can say that based on the visits on our page and so on. So we have, thank you, we have a few more minutes to sum up. I would like to thank all of our panelists.
Comme conclusion à tout ceci, en lisant, en écoutant vos présentations, je crois que
And after listening to all of the presentations,
on n'a pas beaucoup parlé de ça, mais je l'ai trouvé dans
we didn't
la communication.
speak so much about achievements. We mostly spoke about communication. If we do use some products that are not good, then it is clear that people are not satisfied with us.
la communication et la digitalisation que tout le monde a évoqué comme étant aujourd'hui un carrefour.
So nowadays, communication is very important. Digital tools are important.
Pour dire que ces trois éléments,
Results
à mon sens,
are the most important.
le sens que l'on
And there are three elements to that, to these results, that all contribute.
bien communiquer.
They all contribute to the public employment services being visible, known, and trusted. I think these three things are the most important. Of course, marketing is important.
Resté en ligne depuis le Japon et dont nous avons apprécié.
I would like to thank Madame Anzu, who is in Japan and connected via internet to our session. I would like to thank Ms. Kerstin Holland, who is one of the organizers and has given us a very interesting presentation. Thank you, Anne-Céline, as well.
Un angle de vision particulier que chacun
And thank you all.
essaie de nous définir.
Thank you all of our four panelists.
Avoir de la réflexion.
They all showed us from very interesting aspects how public employment services can be more trustworthy, visible, and better known. Thank you.